Story 1. To the right person, yes. To the wrong person, no. If you are not 100% convinced you want to be together with that one person for the rest of your life, do not do it. Story 2. No. All experiences are different. I have been here for over a decade, and the situation is extremely complicated. I have basically become an in-home caretaker and never really had a happy marriage. I love my wife, but most days she is not present with me. She is fighting her past and other issues, and I am stuck alone. I wonder what the lives of my single friends are like. Then again, all they do is complain about not having a girlfriend or wife, so who knows? Story 3. My wife and I were basically married before we got married. We had already been living together for 5 years and had 2 children. We had been together for a total of 7 years. We got married for legal reasons, such as taxes and child-related matters. She gave me parental rights and everything, but it was easier when I was not only a father but also a husband. Nothing changed at all. We have been together for 14 years and married for 7. Story 4. My wife is my best friend. Being around her all the time during the pandemic was incredible to me. I love going on holiday with just her and me, relaxing together. We laugh, have fun, care for each other, make each other feel good, and overall have a wonderful life together. So yes, it was worth it. It has made emigrating much easier. It is a symbol and promise of commitment, and the ring is a reminder that she is always there for me. Even if the worst happens and she divorces me, which I hope never occurs, the money would have been worth it for the years of happiness she has given me. Story 5. Wrong place to ask. All the happily married men are not on Reddit talking about how their life sucks. Story 6. Do not get married just to get married. That is my advice. I would say if children are in the plan, the security of marriage can definitely help psychologically. Just do not do it if you view it simply as a milestone, achievement, or some kind of maturity marker. Story 7. If you find the right person and you both want to create a lasting relationship, absolutely. If you are doing it because of societal expectations, pressure, or some other form of obligation, no. Story 8. Depends on many factors, and plenty of people should not get married for various reasons. However, for me, once you find a good woman, marriage can help focus your priorities in a way that nothing else really can. Additionally, while it might seem like an unnecessary change to a relationship, culturally it significantly changes how people view you and your partner. Story 9. If you want to get married because the marriage itself means something to you, then it is worth it. If you want to get married as a means to some end, then lower your expectations. Story 10. With the right person, totally. With the wrong person, it is like having a cancer that slowly eats you from the inside. I have been there, trust me. Story 11. I love my wife, but we have both said if we could do it over again, we would not do it again. Nobody talks about the financial and tax implications that you really should first consider. I would love my wife the same whether we were married or not. Story 12. I'm 56 and have been married for 34 years next month. Probably the best thing I ever did in my life. My wife and I are planning our future years, planning to retire next year. We have been through very hard times over the last 3 decades and have supported each other and grown together. No relationship is perfect and we have our issues, but life has been a better adventure because we are together. We met in college and got married right after. We planned to have children, but it did not work out that way. We were very poor, with bill collectors calling, for the first 10 years of our relationship, but we struggled through. Personally, I think it just depends on you and your partner, but having someone to go through life with is something I would not trade for anything. Story 13. Definitely, if you find the right person. I waited until my 40s and am glad because those earlier significant others were not the one. The only problem with waiting is that we only had enough time for one child. Story 14. Depends on the partner. A good partner will improve you and your life in ways you did not think possible. A bad partner will drag you to depths of suffering you did not know existed. Story 15. Marriage can be good with the right person. One important factor is to make sure you have a sexual connection. Many men and women in dead bedrooms struggle because their spouse is not willing to engage in sexual activities. Some may say that sex is not everything, If that is the case, find a decent housemate with whom you can share chores and care for children. Story 16. No. If I had never gotten married, I would have been able to retire years earlier with 3 times the retirement income. Story 17. With the right person, sure, but many people do not marry the right person. As a result, there are many unhappy marriages and divorce rates are also high. Story 18. It is until it is not, and you find out that the person you were fully committed to has decided to leave you for someone else. Then you have to spend the next year bound to this person because the state requires a mandatory 1-year minimum separation. For the right person, it is probably worth it, but make sure you consider all the factors involved. When you love someone and interpret everything they do through that lens, sometimes the red flags just appear as ordinary flags. Story 19. I am in the process of divorcing my wife, so take this with a grain of salt. Before, I often said it was the best decision I ever made. In the last few years, it has become the worst decision I ever made. At this moment, my opinion is that people change so much over time that a lifetime commitment seems unwise. My advice would be to know yourself, love yourself, and wait until you are in your 30s. Then you can begin to know and love another person. Story 20. It heavily depends on the person you are and the person you marry. A lot of people are just awful partners and should not be allowed to be in relationships until they grow. Some people are great partners and are ready for the life change. It is hard to find someone who is ready and able to be a partner. It is very easy to find someone who is not. Story 21. Depends on the person you are marrying. I have been married to my wife for 17 years and it has been amazing and wonderful. I was fortunate to marry an incredible person. I never had any doubt that my wife was the one. If you are having doubts, then something is probably wrong. Story 22. When asked, I always advise all of my friends and relatives not to get married. Not because I think it is a bad idea, but because it should be the kind of thing you cannot be talked out of. If I can easily convince them of the merits of not getting married in a few words, they have no business getting married. The same goes for having children. Sometimes I find people are looking for permission to find a way out. When I was younger, I was always hesitant to give them that permission because it was not my place. Now, as I am getting older and wiser, I realize it is not about me. Story 23. I have been married for 10 years. Working together, there is so much more of a life you can build than as a single person. There are ups and downs, but I love her deeply, and any rift is always worth repairing. My friends who are very against marriage are quite satisfied with their lives. My friends who were always waiting for the perfect person are now between 38 and 50 and chronically lonely. Story 24. Yes. My wife and I will have our 11th anniversary in December. It is great. Just do not marry the first girl who gives you attention. Find someone that you actually love and get along with on something more than a surface level. Story 25. It was absolutely worth it for me, but you cannot answer this question without the context of who you are and who you are marrying. Otherwise, this question makes as much sense as asking, is it worth getting a job? What is your experience? Me, 38-year-old male, married for 10 years to a 36-year-old female with 2 kids. We have been together for 13 years. Story 26. It is just like anything in life. Some work out great and some end badly. Opinions vary depending on who you ask. Story 27. Not a direct answer, but it really depends on your situation. Let's say you have a bad relationship with your partner's parents or family. Even if you don't, if your partner were to die, there is a good chance their parents would usurp you in estate and funeral decisions. That is one reason why, after the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome crisis, the gay community strongly supported legal marriage in the United States. Many would die, and their partner would be left with nothing because of their parents disapproving of the relationship. Story 28. For me, it does not really feel like it is going to be a big change. We already own a house together, which feels like a bigger commitment. I am usually not a fan of parties. If I am ever going to have a party, it may as well be really big and celebrate something that I care deeply about. I am getting married to celebrate our relationship. Story 29. I would recommend finding the right person. Men marry for the wrong reasons. Do not just look for the most attractive woman. Do not put her on a pedestal, and her past definitely matters. Men often fall for a woman because of looks, ignore the past and red flags, and then put her on a pedestal. Good women expect a lot from a good man, so do the same. Expect a lot from a good woman. Do not settle. Story 30. I have been married for 10 years, and it has been great. It is really nice having a partner who basically takes your side on everything. You never really feel alone, and you get to go through life being a little less scared to make mistakes since you have someone to support you. All of this is, of course, only if you can find the right partner for your personality, but I think the search is worth it. Story 31. I got married because I wanted a family, and my partner would only have children if she was married. I understood her desire for that commitment from me, and I am admittedly a romantic, so I like the proclamation of love and commitment aspect of it. We got married and had a few children. Now that I am some years into it, I would say it is helpful to have a symbolic bond that takes real effort to break. Having children, buying a house, health scares, work-life balance, and family issues all put incredible pressure on a family, and it has been helpful to have this barrier to support us. We are not very religious, but we have used our vows and our commitment as reasons to push through hard times. Marriage does not matter if you can only be together when things are good and life is easy. Marriage is a bond to someone that you will fight for, work with, and adapt through the hard times. It means you will mend what is broken or build something new together if you need to. Story 32. In my opinion, yes, provided you choose the right partner and are willing to put in the effort every day. Story 33. Hello, friend. A lot of people are going to say no, but I'm here to tell you otherwise. You absolutely should get married, but with a caveat. You shouldn't rush it. Many people find themselves in love with someone and then immediately rush to the married phase. I am a firm believer that this is a strong reason why the divorce rate is so high in modern times. People think they found the right person and get married without a second thought, only to realize later that it was a big mistake. Be in the dating phase. Date each other for a while. Nobody has patience anymore because society tells you not to. Almost everyone in your life will continue to ask, "When are you getting married?" I dated my wife for 4 years before I proposed. We were then engaged for another 4 years. We have now been married for a year and a half. I learned things about my partner that I did not know 2, 4, 6, and 8 years into our relationship. That's just life. Sometimes you don't realize that some of those things are incompatible with how you want to live your life. After a certain amount of time, we both knew that we were right for each other for life. I hope this helps. Story 34. It is a high-risk, high-reward situation. Can be amazing or it can be destructive. Take your time and choose very carefully. Understand that even then, it may not work out. Story 35. I have been married for 23 years. Do not do it. I am going through a difficult divorce. You cannot leave because the law will destroy you. Your wife takes the children. I know people who have committed suicide. Story 36. The comments here are interesting, to say the least. I think it is absolutely worth it to get married to the person that you love. Of course, you have to spend time with your partner to see if their love and intentions are genuine. But that is part of the process. Just a quick scenario I can think of is in the case of a medical emergency. Your girlfriend cannot speak for you if you cannot communicate yourself, but your wife can. If you want things to go a certain way and you have talked about it, then she, and the fact that she is your wife, can be the difference between your wishes being carried out or just put aside. I do not understand the whole idea that it is not worth it for the man. I really do not. Story 37. I don't want to get married. I have seen too much growing up. At 50, my mother is still fighting with my father because she suspects him of cheating. Ridiculous. He never has. Ever. I know. But growing up with parents like that, seeing my aunt divorced and a single mother, not to mention my friend living with contempt from his wife because he is in a bad spot right now, is just no, please. Story 38. After 20 years of marriage ended in divorce due to her financial, emotional, and sexual infidelity, her taking half of my 401k, and damaging my credit. I have absolutely no desire to get married again. Story 39. I asked my fiancée to marry me because the thought of not having her in my life makes me unbearably sad. I thought about it for a long time. I had to make sure I was the marrying type because I don't want to do it again. I had to make sure I was making the right decision for both of us and not asking just out of convenience. I also wanted time to ensure I was a person who would uphold the promise of marriage and become someone reliable not only to a spouse but also to any children that may come from the relationship. In a traditional sense, marriage is a religious event. I'm not particularly religious, but she is to an extent, at least more than I am, and a legal event. I do not care much for this either, as there's no benefit to being married in the eyes of the government. But those two things don't resonate with me. My number one reason for doing it is as a symbol of how strong our relationship is and how much it has grown. If she loves me enough to spend the rest of her life with me, I want the world to know it and that it is mutual. For that, we should gather all of our friends and family together and profess that to them. And let's have a party about it. I don't want to live my life without her. She is my rock, my shoulder to cry on, and my biggest supporter. I hope I provide her with half of what she provides to me. If I do, then we're doing really well. I have been away training for a new job for almost 3 months now, and she hasn't faltered one bit in the steadfastness of our relationship. She is stronger now than the day I asked her to marry me. For that reason and others I will not bore you with, marrying her is more than worth it. They make marriage to her a new passion. I cannot wait to get home in a few days and begin planning our wedding. Story 40. Not in the United Kingdom for the wealthy, where there is no exclusive benefit, and you cannot protect premarital or inherited assets from being taken away in divorce by someone who contributed no effort toward them. That can only be avoided by marrying other wealthy people. Story 41. It depends on where you live and the woman you are marrying. I have heard about certain states in the United States where prenuptial agreements are often dismissed, alimony exists, and someone can take half of your possessions without contributing anything to the marriage. In such cases, I would not recommend marrying. In my country, where alimony is uncommon, any wealth owned before the marriage, including inheritances and gifts, is not subject to division in divorce proceedings. Prenuptial agreements are taken more seriously. I would say it is not unsafe to marry under these conditions. Always try to choose the right partner. Story 42. I have been on and off in terms of relationships. I had my first one in my sophomore year of college. Then we split in my senior year. I was single for a couple of years and then had another relationship, but she moved away for a new job and I could not, so we split. I had my last relationship when I was 29 and ended up getting engaged, but did not go through with it. Right now, I am 34 and single. My take is that earlier in my life, I craved a partner and a relationship, but as I get older, I am happy with myself and do not need a partner, although it is nice to have one. At this age, I crave peace more. I do not want to come home to someone who barks orders as soon as I step into the house. It may sound nice to have children running around the house like in movies, but in movies, it is not the parents cleaning up the mess and dealing with all that goes with it. Maybe I have not found my person yet, and I am okay with that. I do not think marriage is worth it with the wrong person. In my case, a wrong person is someone who ruins your peace, annoys you greatly, and always needs attention. Story 43. There are many factors. A marriage can make you feel like you are walking on clouds or being dragged to hell. Every marriage will have a little of both. Everyone wants to run and look for greener grass when things get tough. Story 44. Only if you find the right person. I found the right person and could not imagine being happier. But I know many men and women who loved the idea of marriage more than the actual person. They are not happy after multiple years. Story 45. It made a lot of sense in my early 30s when we were in love, nesting, buying a home together, and then having children. 18 years later, it was over. Some people grow and change a lot over time, and some people do not. If a couple has both, it is very possible to drift apart. We had a good run. Story 46. Every person has to answer that for themselves. One person's heaven is another person's hell. There is a well-known divorce lawyer named James Sexton who has been featured on the podcast circuit. Watch his interview with Soft White Underbelly on YouTube. It contains good advice to consider if you decide to get married. Story 47. If you get married for the right reason, yes. For the wrong reasons, no. Wrong reasons. They are attractive, they have money, you have money, sex, infatuation, you think you love them, they think they love you, she's pregnant, and so on. Right reason. They are your best friend, and you cannot imagine living the rest of your life without them. The wrong reasons listed above can always change for better or worse, but if they are your best friend, then the two of you can fix anything. If you stay together long enough, you learn it is a marathon, not a sprint, which means you will likely have to work through those other issues at some point. It is much easier to do that with someone you genuinely like as a person. That is just my opinion. Story 48. I have been with my wife for more than 27 years now and married for more than 24. It is the best decision I ever made. We get along well, rarely argue, and love spending time together. Story 49. Best thing that's ever happened to me. We build each other up and take care of each other when things go wrong. She has given me a child, who is amazing and also makes my life better. I'm more motivated to take care of myself to be there for them. It's hard to describe. I will say we did get married later in life when we had our act together. That might have helped. Story 50. The world is built for two to enjoy. Friends will not always be there to experience things with you. But I still do not believe in marriage. I have been cheated on by all those I have been close to. Sometimes humans are animals too. Story 51. Married my high school sweetheart at 22. Our 9th wedding anniversary is next month. It's excellent, but you have to be committed to the commitment as much as you are to your spouse. Most of the time, your spouse is your best friend, and you are head over heels for them. Sometimes your spouse is annoying. Sometimes you run out of compassion for their bad days. Sometimes infatuation ebbs and flows. That's normal, but then you remember that you made a commitment to love your spouse. If you fall out of love, that is your problem. You fix it because you are committed to loving your spouse. It is not their responsibility to be lovable. It is your responsibility to love them. That is why it is so important to marry the right person. If they do not see it that way, then they are just in it for themselves. You do not marry someone just because you love them. You marry them because you are committed to making sure they are loved every day for the rest of their life. Story 52. I have been told that many marriages fail because men expect their wives not to change after marriage, but they do, while women expect their husbands to change after marriage, but they do not. That is all I want to leave here. Story 53. Honestly, no, it's not. The best way for me to decide that is by thinking if I could go back in time, would I do it again? My answer is no. Yes, it's all fun and exciting when you get engaged. You have your whole life ahead of you and happiness in your eyes. Then you get married and realize that now a breakup just got extremely expensive. For me, she changed too, and I think a lot of women do. They can drop the facade. Want your signed Kevin Garnett jersey on the wall? No, not anymore. It is now relegated to a room in the basement. But God forbid you call it a man cave because that's sexist. All these projects that we really need to paint this living room. Oh, you mean I do? And it's just your idea that it needs to be painted. And God forbid I actually relax on a Saturday. No, I have to get house projects done. Story 54. Too risky. You are putting yourself on the hook for someone else's credit decisions as well as what you can lose in divorce. I would never advise it. Story 55. I think the entire social concept of marriage is a sham and most people don't really understand what they're getting into. It's essentially saying, I'm in romantic love with you, then getting the government involved in our relationship with a binding contract that doesn't prove our love and only provides a small tax benefit. How romantic. There's the idea of marriage that most people want, and then there's the reality of marriage that most people don't understand. I'm a big fan of getting married without signing a contract. Just have a ceremony, wear rings, and call each other husband and wife. There is absolutely zero reason to make it a government contract. Marriage used to be symbolic. It should return to that. People rush into marriage for the symbolism, not the legally binding contract. They just want the ceremony and the commitment. They don't actually care about the legal aspects. Story 56. 100% recommend. I cannot imagine going through this crazy world without her. There are many more reasons I could list, but we would be here all day. So yes, it is worth it. You just have to find the right one. Story 57. My parents have been together for about 38 years, and they are fine. My girlfriend's parents split a few years after marriage and have not been on good terms for about 30 years. You never know how things will turn out. Story 58. It has been for me. We will have been married 20 years in July, and I was fortunate enough to choose a wonderful wife. Story 59. With the right person, yes. The problem is knowing they are the right person. We are humans, not fortune tellers. But I think it is cowardly not to try to aim for it. Sure, you might lose your assets and be heartbroken if you choose wrong, but that does not mean you should not try. Similar to the logic of just because perfection is impossible to attain does not mean we should not strive for it. Live to your fullest. Even if you do lose out and pick the wrong person, at least you can die knowing you tried. Story 60. To the right person, my man. I know men who have been married since 21 and now are 29, still happy. Other men in their late 40s divorced 3 times, and another was divorced and used for a green card. Story 61. It is always worth it until it is not. People and their priorities can change a lot over the years, and the person you marry might not be the same person you divorce. Story 62. It depends on the individual and what they want for themselves and their future. Many people say marriage is worth it if you marry the right person, but few mention that why the person wants to get married is equally, if not more, important. Many get married for unwise reasons, whether due to family pressure or just feeling it is the next milestone in life. More men should spend time asking why they want to get married, specifically what marriage will provide that they could not achieve by being single, dating, or in a cohabitation relationship. Do not be afraid to think deeply about where the answers lead. This way, no matter what the answer is, if the individual chooses to move forward, they are being honest about why they are doing it rather than just living a fairy tale of being in love or following the next step in a relationship. Story 63. I feel like getting married is worth it, but not in the traditional sense. At different ages, we become different people, 20s, 30s, 50s, each version is different. If you marry someone and are compatible at one age, it doesn't mean you will be compatible later. A better approach might be contract marriage, where people are married for a stipulated amount of time and can extend if they want. They would agree on arrangements regarding children and finances after the period. Story 64. I wish I had not rushed into it. It is definitely something you want to take your time considering. Story 65. No, absolutely not worth the risk. Things can be great and show no signs of anything bad, and then she will suddenly turn into a different person and you are stuck. That has been my experience anyway. I would never get married again. Story 66. If you find your 60/40th person, yes. You are a team, so pick each other up when you or they are not at their best. Never do anything out of spite, and understand that if the other person has the same mentality, then any mistakes they make are not intentional and you need to work through them together. Communicate and understand how you both communicate. My wife does not nag me about little things like leaving my clothes on the floor or dishes on the counter, even though I know she likes a tidy house. I work at not doing those small things, so the state of the house is not a stressor when she gets home from her 8 to 5 job. Intimacy will wax and wane, so knowing that going in and being open with your partner about that is important as well. 60/40 is basically both of you striving to put in 60% of the work in the marriage, but sometimes it is 70/30 if one partner is not feeling their best physically, mentally, or emotionally. Remember, you are on a team. No one should be the bad guy in any situation. You are trying to win at life. Story 67. You are about to sign a legal contract. A contract where you agree to be a perfect person for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you will pay the other contract signer for the rest of theirs. You will then pay several months' rent to celebrate this contract with friends and family and have sex with someone you already regularly have sex with. Years down the road, thousands of arguments and unsaid words build into resentments, and you will look forward to death because breaking the contract will cost you more. But it is your life. You do you. Story 68. Every married couple I know is divorced. My parents, my cousins, my aunts. I would avoid marriage until I see more couples happy together rather than planning divorce. Story 69. That is subjective and depends on many factors. In my experience, I find the whole institution to be strange and flawed. I was never one for marriage and never wanted to get married. I wanted to commit myself to someone but did not want to involve the government. My wife was actually surprised when I proposed. To be honest, I mostly got married because we were already fully committed to each other and might as well take the tax break. It also simplified some things like medical rights when incapacitated. I think marriage, especially weddings, can be expensive and somewhat silly, especially with how we view it today. For example, you have to find your soulmate or else you are incomplete as a person, and you are nothing unless someone loves you. We have a lot of unhealthy views about relationships and love. I know many people who divorced soon after getting married because they thought that was what they should do. I believe love, finding a person to spend your life with, is wonderful. I am incredibly happy with my partner. She is my best friend, and every moment I spend with her is improved just by having her in it. But this works because we were both happy alone. Many people cling to love like it is a life raft on a sinking ship. They are so desperate to find it that they make themselves unhappy just to find love. It should never be like that. Love should never be desperate. Love should require effort but should not feel like work. Story 70. You can have a lifelong partner with or without marriage. Getting married does not guarantee your partner will stay. There are two different questions. Is the legal act of getting married worth it? And is it worth committing yourself to a lifelong partner? I am not sure what you are asking, but the legal act of getting married has some tax benefits, expresses your love in a significant way, and fulfills a life goal for many people. Can also satisfy some traditional or religious family members. It may be worth it for the tax benefits alone or if any of these reasons are important to you. Committing yourself to a lifelong partner without marriage allows you to pool income, share responsibilities like chores, errands, and raising children. You have someone who will be there for love, laughter, security, and support. This provides an anchor and reduces the likelihood of loneliness. Can be worth it if you love the person and value these things. Story 71. No. You are just giving the government the power to decide who gets what in the event the marriage does not work. Story 72. Know what you want out of marriage. Do not do it just because it is the thing to do or because you think it is a magic guarantee that you will stick together. There are definitely legal benefits and obligations to marriage, especially when children or medical care are involved, and you should take that into consideration as well. But mostly, know what you want going in, know what your partner wants, and make sure you are on the same page. It is not something you should rush into. Story 73. Marriage is a contract. Love is emotion. As long as you can divorce, marriage has no meaning except for the jobs created around it to get your money. Do not get me started on rings and weddings. Signed, 36-year-old in a happy relationship since 2012 and a father of two. Story 74. When I was in my early 20s, my then girlfriend and I discussed getting married frequently. Little by little, she got drawn into toxic self-help women's advice circles. She became depressed, actively sought validation from other men in real life and on social media, and eventually cheated on me. I met a girl when I was 25 who was a few years younger than me. She valued family, had a close relationship with her parents, was extremely feminine, healthy, loyal, and did not use social media. I married her last December, and we have a happy, supportive relationship. It is the best decision I ever made. Story 75. Getting married as in making a lifetime commitment? Sure. Security is nice for both people. Getting married as in having a wedding? No. There are many better things to do with $10,000 than throw a fairy tale prince and princess party. Story 76. I mean, yeah, she is my best friend and the love of my life. Just an awesome, loving person. Does that mean I think you should get married? I would say no, but that is because I think the only person on this planet worth marrying is my wife. Story 77. Not to me, the only benefit is taxes. Most of the rest is risk. Unless you make enough money to afford lawyers all the time, you only have a 20% chance that anything will work out in your favor if you get a divorce. Story 78. Sure. Make sure you can be friends with each other for the rest of your lives. However, I do not think a large wedding party is worth it. You will still be paying for it. Story 79. It really depends. The main thing I would recommend is getting some kind of prenuptial agreement outlining how things would work in the event of a divorce. It does not need to be extreme, just an idea of what you would be looking at financially if you decide to divorce. No surprises, no heated arguments, and if she really wants that ring, she is likely to agree to a fair deal. There are many benefits to being married: tax benefits, health insurance, and general societal advantages. The world is designed for you to be married when you are in a long-term cohabitating relationship, making many things more convenient and easier. If you have children and if she takes your name, these aspects make life much easier if you are married. I am divorced. Fortunately, my ex was not greedy, but I did lose a lot. I avoided alimony, but even with a 50-50 custody split, I am still paying child support. I had to give her the house, which was paid off. So, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars there, plus child support, which amounts to another six-figure sum over 10 years. If you work out who gets what while you are still in love and do not hate each other yet, getting married is absolutely worth it. That is what I plan to do if I get married again. Story 80. Married for more than 25 years. There are times when you have absolutely no doubt that you made the best decision in your life. There are times when you have absolutely no doubt that you made the worst decision in your life. There are times when you wonder. But if you can sit down with your partner, discuss what is going on, and remind yourselves that it is you two against whatever the problem is, you can work through things. Working through things together as a team brings you closer and makes those worst and wonder times diminish. In the more than 30 years my partner and I have been together, not every day has been sunshine and roses. Some days have been utterly horrible. As long as we have been able to face those dark times together, we have been okay. When we stopped communicating and stopped collaborating, that is where the problem started. I will not lie, it took some professional counseling to bring us back to the table to start talking again. Although I did not care for everything the counselor had to say, I appreciate that it got us communicating and resolving problems together again. There are still difficult talks to have even after all these years. We have those talks instead of letting them simmer. We address the issues when they are small enough to work through, instead of when they have simmered so long that they are huge. I would say that yes, marriage is worth it in the long term as long as you recognize that people will change, you have to work at the relationship, and you always have to communicate kindly. Story 81. It depends on who you are marrying. Just like staying single, there are many benefits to being married if you have a good partner. It is totally worth it. Otherwise, your life may be filled with sacrifices and regrets. Story 82. Take a bottle of poison. Flip a coin. Call it in the air. If it fails, consume and suffer the results, go to the hospital and spend days or weeks in recovery. Believe it or not, this scenario is actually less risky than marriage. Story 83. There is no advantage to marriage for men. In other words, you can enjoy all the benefits of marriage without the binding legal obligation that could cause financial harm if she decides to leave. Story 84. Absolutely not. I will reverse this question. What exactly is the upside for any man to get married? It is an antiquated, pointless tradition that only favors the woman. Story 85. Marriage is a coin flip with at least a 50% failure rate. I know more divorced people than married people. Men tend to lose a lot of money in a divorce. My friend has been divorced twice. In his first divorce at 35, he had $600,000 in assets split evenly. He is now 46 with $700,000 in assets and has just gone through a second divorce. He will once again split his money in half, leaving him with $350,000. Between the two divorces, he has lost $650,000. There are a couple of things to consider. First, both wives were housewives. I am not sure how it works if they had jobs that paid as much as him. Second, is he telling the truth? He might be exaggerating or giving random figures. Men should either get prenuptial agreements or plan on a 50% chance of losing much of their wealth. Story 86. I have been married for 5 years. We dated for 10 years before that. Married life has been blissful. We have both picked up good habits from each other. Marriage brings permanence. You start planning your future together. Suddenly, you stop living day by day and have grander, more holistic goals. Marriage establishes effort. It helps you put in the work to make the relationship flourish. I feel blessed to have found a partner who builds me up and is the face I come home to every evening. With the right person, marriage is a cheat code for life. Story 87. It is not a question of whether getting married is worth it, but whether you can find a woman in today's society who is worth marrying and be confident that she will not change due to various societal factors during the marriage. Story 88. I was married for 28 years. We may have gotten together out of necessity. We were both broke and made it work better together than we would have apart, but we were certainly madly in love. We saw each other through the most difficult and painful parts of our lives and celebrated the most joyful and fulfilling parts as well. It ended because not every marriage is meant to last forever. There are no regrets over the marriage ending. It was time. I have some regrets about staying together as long as we did, but that was for the best in the end, as our children needed us united and strong. Good luck to you. Story 89. Nobody wants to work on things. Judging by the way you structured your question, I am going to say you like to optimize for efficiency. If you find someone that you love and who loves you, this question will not exist in your mind. But that is only if you are closer to your 30s. Before that, some personalities have the ability to love every partner they are with, and sometimes even that does not change. There is just a stronger case to be made after 30. Story 90. The best thing that has ever happened to me was getting married. The unconditional support and companionship you receive every day are without a doubt the best part of life. My wife is my best friend in every way. Our relationship took a step forward when we got married. There is no throwing your hands up and walking away from anything. We both felt much more secure after getting married, even though we were each other's soul mate from the beginning. Getting married was also a commitment to myself to be the best man I can be every day for myself, my wife, and our future family. Story 91. Best decision I ever made. She is great, and our children are great. You will get opposite answers to this question because it does not always work out. If you truly trust someone, genuinely love them, and see them as a partner and friend for life, that is a good start. If you cannot confidently and without hesitation say yes to those things, be cautious. Story 92. As a man in the United States, it is absolutely not worth it unless you are going to have children. It will be the worst financial decision you ever make. Story 93. Marriage is a commitment, so choose your partner wisely. Pastor once told me that a long time ago, if you can communicate about your problems with your spouse and work together to resolve them, it is absolutely worth it. If not, it will lead to many sleepless nights, where resentment builds up and you end up hating the situation or worse, your partner. Story 94. Yes, but it took a while to find the right one. Women you can trust are becoming a rare commodity, especially with age. Younger women seem to be more trustworthy, while older women are bitter and carry too much baggage. Story 95. Been married 23 years. It has been difficult at times, sad, painful, and tragic. I would not trade it for anything. She is my soulmate and rock for so long. I have forgotten who I am and have become we. I love being married. Story 96. Marriage, in its truest form of full self-sacrifice for the other, is difficult. Marriage, in its truest form of full self-sacrifice for the other, is quite possibly the hardest thing one can choose. However, there is nothing, aside from maybe parenthood, that is more fulfilling than marriage in its truest self-sacrificial form. Story 97. If you are the higher earner or bring more equity, then only a fool would willingly sign a legal contract with someone who would greatly benefit from breaking it in the future. Story 98. I am speaking from the United States of America. If you are a woman, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose in a divorce. As a man, you have nothing to gain and everything to lose. It is so easy to get divorced these days that there is no sense in getting married. Story 99. Yes. It's not a 50-50 thing. Sometimes it's a 60-40ths. Other times it's a 40-60ths. Be there for them and don't pile on. Finding the person to be with for the rest of your life is pretty cool. It's no longer you and them, it's us and we. Story 100. It is important if your partner aligns with your views or perspectives on life. There will be differences for sure, but if you want children and your partner does not, do not expect them to change for you. In contrast, do not change for anyone else or compromise your values. This is exactly why I broke up with my girlfriend a month ago. As an individual, she was amazing and we had wonderful experiences together. Our personalities allowed us to express ourselves openly without judgment. But we knew what we wanted in our futures and that did not match. This made it even harder to end it, but in a way it was major damage control. If I got married, I would never want a divorce or have my wife feel disdain for me because I forced her to have children. Put yourself first, and if that person is fully on board with you, then marriage could be worth it. Story 101. You have to be aware of what you are getting into. If it works out, you will be fine. If it does not, the contract favors women, especially if you have children. If you are very attached to your children, you will be emotionally hurt by being away from them, as well as financially affected. In my view, women change after they have children, and it is likely there is some kind of biological imperative at work, whereby once you have given her children, your value is lower than when you started. This is assuming you marry one of the good ones. My advice is not to marry too young or too old. Be smart and do not trust her completely. Keep some money aside for a rainy day, and if things are not working out, do not break up on impulse. You will be hurt. Marriage is a family project. Your happiness is always secondary to your family's. So if you are not capable of that, do yourself a favor. Do not be surprised if the woman aligns her ultimate loyalty to her children, not to you. Story 102. If you find the right person, I believe it is. I say this as someone who has been divorced twice. I think the problem with most relationships and marriages that fail is that the parties do not understand what they want or what it really is. All we can do is learn from life's lessons and move forward. While there are individual exceptions, at the end of the day, we are social creatures at our core, and we do not do well alone. Others may not agree with me, but there is a difference between having a girlfriend, fiancé, significant other, and a wife. Story 103. If you genuinely feel like you have found the right person, then marriage is only a change in title. To that point, it is worth showing your partner that you are truly in the relationship for the long haul. However, you need to be willing to have awkward conversations about children, money, life and career goals, and everything in between. Love will only take you so far in a marriage. If you and your partner are not aligned or not willing to align on certain things, then it will be a very tough road. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.